The #1 most viewed video from PragerU is this one right here. A progressive income tax, a tale of three brothers. Let's begin.
Once upon a time, there were three brothers, triplets, named Tom, Dick, and Harry Class.
We're already beginning with the innuendos.
They were raised in the same home with the same parents.
And yes, by the way, this condescending voice is not going to go away. You're going to have to get used to it, I'm afraid.
Had the same IQ, same skills, and same opportunities.
All right, now, already right off the bat, something's up. Same IQ, same skills, same opportunities. That never fucking happens. Okay, let's assume IQ is a valid measure of measurement. Let's assume it's possible for people to have the exact same skills. Yeah, okay. Maybe you're all fucking clones or something. And same opportunities is quite literally impossible. What, so all three of them all meet the exact same people in their lives? They never separate or anything? I don't know about that. So you're already asking us to assume quite a lot here. But okay, no, let's go through with it. Let's see where it goes. Also, this is a spooky looking house. So I don't know, maybe they're all like Frankenstein children or something.
Each was married and had 2 children.
Also, y'all notice what I notice here? Look at the couple on the left here. One of their kids is browner than the other. That's going to become relevant in a few minutes.
Each was married and had 2 children.
And again, we're making a hell of an assumption here.
They were all carpenters making $25 per hour.
Damn! That's about as much as I make a month through Patreon.
While they were very similar in all these respects, they had different priorities. For example, Tom.
Different priorities, and yet they all managed to have the exact same opportunities?
Chose to work 20 hours per week, while his brother Dick worked 40 hours, and Harry, 60.
This is where the misinformation begins, so pay close attention, class. Professor Attack is going to teach you. So up to this point, they've all been clones, copied and pasted, right? Each one makes $25 an hour, and each one works 20 hours more than the other. Are you following? I'm glad you're following, because you're gonna get lost real quick here.
It should also be noted that Harry's wife worked full-time as an office manager for a salary of $50,000. Dick's wife sold real estate part-time 10 hours a week and made $25,000 per year. Tom's wife did not work.
Okay, right off the bat, some glaring problems have arisen. So notice that the numbers that are given for the three brothers are in dollars per hour and hours per week. But when talking about their wives, we don't talk about hours per week, we talk about salaries. There's an immediate conflation here. Now we can do a bit of math and determine how this works out, but this should immediately raise some suspicions in the back of your mind about what exactly PragerU is trying to play with their numbers here. Also, this group on the right here, she works full-time, he works 60 hours a week. So I guess they don't have any time for their kids, huh?
Dick's wife sold real estate part-time 10 hours a week and made $25,000 per year.
Also $25,000 for 10 hours a week. That's a pretty fucking good deal.
Tom's wife did not work.
There's a broken guitar string for her.
Tom and Dick spent all of their family income. Since they paid into Social Security, they figured they didn't need to save for retirement.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Harry and his wife, on the other hand, had, over many years, put away money each month and invested it in stocks and bonds.
Fucking condescending prick.
Put away money each month and invested it in stocks and bonds.
Also, this ties back into the whole Republican Party thing now of, if you're a poor person, well, that's a moral failing on your part. See, us wealthy people, we are more morally superior.
Here's how it worked out. Tom made $25,000 a year. Dick and his wife made $75,000, and Harry and his wife, $150,000.
Why didn't you just give us these numbers to start with, instead of adding all these other numbers to attempt to confuse people? Like, make no mistake, that's what they're doing. They're just throwing all these numbers at you in an attempt to muddy the water. A progressive income tax isn't actually too hard to understand once you put a little bit of thought into it, but we're already so far off the rails.
When a new housing development opened up in their community, the brothers decided to buy equally priced homes on the same private street. One day, the brothers decided
yeah.
to pool their funds for the purpose of improving their street.
So one guy's making like 150% of what the younger brother is making, and he's gonna get what the bank's gonna give him a fucking mortgage for the same value of house? I don't think so. You know, for a new housing development, this sure looks like a dump.
Concerned about crime and safety, and wanting a more attractive setting for their homes, the three families decided to install a security gate at the street's entrance, repave the street's surface, and enhance the lighting and landscaping.
They cared about crime and safety, so they repaved the surface.
Work was done for a total cost of $30,000.
Aye. Cool.
Harry assumed they would divide the bill 3 ways, each brother paying $10,000. But Tom and Dick objected for a total cost of $30,000. Harry assumed they would divide the bill 3 ways, each brother paying $10,000. But Tom and Dick objected. Why should we pay the same as you? They said, you make much more money than we do.
So they're going to get $30,000 worth of work done without agreeing on how they're going to pay for it beforehand. Oh, okay, yeah. This is how you get landscaping jobs halfway done and not even finished. It's like, oh, y'all can't figure out how you're going to pay it. We're not going to fucking do this work.
Harry was puzzled. What does that have to do with anything, he asked. My family makes more money because my wife and I work long hours and because we have saved some of the money we've earned to make additional money from investments.
If you're poor, you're bad.
Why should we be penalized for that?
They're not exactly saying that, but you can hear it in the tone of the narrator's voice.
Why should we be penalized for that?
Why should we be penalized? Here's another way of thinking about it. You pay more in taxes so we don't come over and burn your house down. Think of it as a riot tax. Sleight of hand here. The framing of this says that paying more in taxes is a penalty for being more financially literate. Why should we be penalized for that? And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter. You still have vastly much more purchasing power than the other two do, even with higher taxes. Now, the way progressive taxation actually works, this is a really small image, but it looks kind of like this. It's more like a ladder. So this isn't the exact numbers. Let's say, okay, first guy's making what, 20,000? Let's say he pays 10% of that. 10% of 20,000, that's $2,000. You make 20,000, you pay 2,000 in income. Okay, but let's say you make 100,000. You're in a higher tax bracket now, and everything over 20,000 instead of 10% is now 20%. These aren't the actual numbers, but bear with me. It's not going to be 20% of 100,000. That's not how it works. But instead, it's 20% of everything over the first 20,000. So the first 20,000 is 2,000 like we have here, which leaves us with 80,000 over here. Now 20% of 18,000 is 16,000. So all in all together, this adds up $18,000. So at 100,000, you're not exactly paying 20% on everything. You're paying 20% on everything above this first tax bracket. And then it goes up and up, so on for each different bracket, but the same thing applies. If that doesn't make sense to you, well, maybe you shouldn't be making videos about progressive taxation. But that's not the point of this video. This video doesn't actually care about any of that.
You can work and save all you like, Tom countered. But my wife and I want to enjoy ourselves now, not 25 years from now. Fine, Tom.
What the fuck does that have to do with any of this? I thought we were talking about the progressive income tax.
Do what you want. It's a free country. But why should I have to pay for that? I can't believe you're being so unbrotherly, Tom argued. You have a lot of money and I don't. I thought you'd be more generous.
What does this have to do with progressive taxation? Also to bring up, this guy here was the one with the brown kid. I think they're calling him a cuck, but I don't know for sure.
At this point, Dick, the peacemaker in the family, entered the conversation.
At this point, Dick, the peacemaker in the family. There's no way they didn't think about that.
The peacemaker in the family entered the conversation. I've got an idea, Dick said. Our combined income is $250,000.
They're throwing more numbers at you again. So Dick is making 3 times what Tom is, and Harry's making 6 times? So why didn't they just give us these numbers at the start? Why do they have to throw everything else at us? It's a rhetorical question. They're doing it because they want to confuse you and intentionally obfuscate things so you think the progressive tax is a crazy system that nobody understands.
$250,000, and $30,000 is 12% of that amount. Why don't we each pay that percentage of our income? Under that formula, Tom would pay $3,000, I would pay $9,000, and Harry would pay $18,000. I have a much better idea, said Tom, and one that's fairer than what you're proposing.
That's their argument for a flat tax? It took a moment to
Tom would
register.
pay $3,000. I have a much better idea, said Tom, and one that's fairer than what you're proposing. Dick and Harry turned to Tom. Harry should pay $23,450. Dick,
The way she's delivering these lines.
you should pay $6,550, and I will pay nothing.
Oh yeah, this guy just had all these numbers in his back pocket ready to go.
To Dick, this sounded completely arbitrary and not really fair, but it did have one big plus. His share would be $2,450 less under
Where's it
Tom's
going?
formula
Where's it
than
going?
under his own.
You know where this
So,
is going.
he decided to be silent. Harry, however, was stunned. You want me to pay almost 80% of the bill despite the fact that each of us is receiving the exact same benefits?
This fight.
Where did you get such a crazy idea? From no less an authority than the U.S. government. Tom
There
responded
it
as
is.
he pulled out a gray booklet.
He
It's
did
all right
have it in his back pocket.
here in the IRS tax tables. This is the progressive income tax system all U.S. taxpayers live under, and I don't
Fucking good.
see why we should be any different. In fact, I believe all future...
So wait, is the argument that they're trying to make here that we should be charging poor people more taxes? That's not the argument they're trying to make. They just want to pay less taxes for themselves. You know, millionaires funded by billionaires. Gosh, there are so many holes in this straw man they've created.
improvements should be paid in this way. Works for me, said Dick. So, by a vote of 2 to 1,
Oh, so you're not even acknowledging why it exists that way? Oh, okay, that's nice. So they're not even actually going to present the argument for why we have a progressive income tax, which I guess means they're leaving a void I could fill. So first off, if we use the same absolute numbers for all 3 of them, assuming we're talking taxes and not the street repairs, whatever, $10,000 has a lot larger impact on Tom here than it would on Harry. Massively so. We saw the numbers here earlier. 10,000 of Tom's is nearly half of his money. That's nearly half of their yearly income. 10,000 for Harry here, not even a tenth. Step forward a bit to the other one. What did they say? 3,000, 9,000, 18,000. Thanks for removing what their numbers were, because I forget already. Again, if we're going to use a flat tax like Dick suggested here, this argument still applies. 3,000 has a lot larger of an impact on Tom than 18,000 does on Harry. And hey, as you know, it's probably a good thing if the poorest people in our society can fucking afford things. Because you know what happens when they don't? They start chopping people's heads off. That's why his name was Harry, because that's where all the hair is, right? And as I mentioned earlier, real life doesn't work this way. People don't have the same opportunities as everybody else. Everybody's vastly different. And to suggest that it's not fair because they make more, that frankly has absolutely nothing to do with the concept of taxation in the first place.
the progressive income tax system all U.S. taxpayers live under, and I don't see why we should be any different. In fact, I believe all future improvements should be paid in this way.
Also, this video is not even going to address why is it that so many people are so fucking poor that they don't have to pay any federal income taxes? You going to address that, PragerU? No, they're not going to address that because they think those people are immoral. And they think those people are, are just snide little freeloaders like they're portraying in this video.
Works for me, said Dick. So, By a vote of 2-1, the cost of the street improvements was divided as Tom had proposed, even though they benefited
Democracy, baby!
equally, and even though the reason Harry had more money, even though they benefited equally.
Also, I object to this framing that taxpayers all benefit equally from the taxes they pay. I know in this hypothetical, these three all benefit from this community they live in. But I mean, hey, you really want to get down to it. Wealthy people kind of benefit a lot more than poor people do from the taxes they pay because, well, someone's got to stop the poor, unwashed masses from breaking into your homes and stealing your golden toilets, right? I know poor people can still take Medicaid and welfare, but it ain't even close. It's not even close to the same amount. Not even on the same scale.
And even though the reason Harry had more money was that he and his wife had worked many more hours than his brothers and their wives, and had saved.
I don't even remember what job his wife had. It was some bullshit, right?
Full-time as an office manager for a salary of $50,000.
Full-time as an office manager. Okay, yeah, that's a thing you just, like, everyone has the opportunity to do.
Though they benefited equally, and even though the reason Harry had more money was that he and his wife had worked many more hours than his brothers and their wives.
Again, this portrayal of poor people are just immoral and lazy. It's so sad.
Had saved some of what they had earned instead of spending it all. Tom and Dick
We also had more money to save.
lived happily ever after with their new arrangement. Harry grumbled a lot, but whenever he complained, his brothers called him greedy and selfish.
But he still, even if he's paying this amount, he still has a shit ton of money. He's just grumbling over it.
Grumbled a lot, but whenever he complained, his brothers called him greedy and selfish. The end.
Oh, that's it? That's it. No other arguments. No counter arguments. Oh Lord, are they actually showing this to kids in school? I could just picture kids at school being forced to watch this. Oh my God. And rhetoric like this is kind of why so many of our institutions have been slowly eroded over time. It's like, these things don't benefit the rich people, so why should they have to pay taxes for them? So they lobby, they get politicians to cut their taxes. One thing leads to another, and we have the highest death rate of COVID in the world. Never mind the epidemic of opioids, never mind the largest obesity numbers, never mind massive growing income inequality. Gee, I wonder how these things happen. And PragerU is just trying to get this shit into schools. I don't know what to do. I really don't. So maybe this is something. Maybe I can crank a bunch of these out. I'm gonna give a special thanks to all my patron backers. Critch, DLs, Elsie Hup, George, Jari Palamo, and Willowy Wings. Thanks to all of you. Really. Sometimes I feel kind of bad when I do a video like this, because it's like non-scripted. But I feel like nobody cares anyway, so it's okay. But fuck, man. We gotta do something about PragerU. This has gone on for too long. I'm sure most of you have seen that news article. I'm sick of it. And the election's coming. It's ramping up. It's coming very close now. We got to do something about it. So maybe I'll try to spam out a couple more of these real quick. All right. Thanks, folks.